we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 9:04 a.m. of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. Yeah, we have a new clerk with us today, Virginia, and I'll ask Virginia if she could please call the roll so we can establish a quorum.
Director Aquino.
Here.
Director Daniels. Director Desmond. Absent. Director Frost.
Here.
Director Guerrera.
Here.
Director Harris.
Here.
Director Kennedy. Director Lolo Lee. Director Natoli.
Here.
Director Papanow. Director Vandenberg.
Here.
Director Cerna. Director Singh Allen.
Here.
Director Terry.
Here.
Director Vang.
Present.
We have quorum.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk. I do want to welcome the board and our new clerk. Selena usually does our clerking, but we have a new person who's going to be taking on the role here. I'd like everyone to say welcome to Virginia, and thanks for joining us today, Virginia.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if we could, let's go ahead and all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you don't mind doing the Board Clerk announcements.
Okay. In compliance with directives of the State and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the physical location of this meeting is closed to the public, consistent with state guidelines on social distancing and California Executive Order N2920. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in the meeting by observing the meeting in real time at www.sacmetrocable.tv, Zoom video conference, and by submitting written comments electronically by email at boardclerk@airquality.org. Comments submitted in person will be delivered to the Board of Directors by staff. Public comments regarding matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors will be acknowledged by the chairperson and accepted until the adjournment of the meeting, distributed to the board members and included in the record. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District is cablecast live without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse cable system. This meeting is being closed captioned and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated on Sunday, July 25th, 2021 at 2 p.m. on Channel 14.
Great, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Well, welcome board members. I think one of the things I'd like to start off with at every one of our meetings is looking at our air quality level today. And as reported at 8:45 a.m., on average, we're around 20 in the ozone, and in the PM, we're still in good air quality, around a little on the 38, 40 side, except for Folsom. It's got a little bit higher PM there and getting into the yellow. So sparetheair.com, we encourage all our viewers to use it, particularly as the temperatures heat up, so that people are aware about their current air quality conditions. And with that, we're going to go to our first item, Madam Clerk. I think you're on mute, Madam Clerk.
First on the item is the Air Pollution Control Officer's report.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, board, and welcome to those of you that are joining us for the first time. I'm going to be sharing just a couple of different topics of importance for the board. If the clerk can get the slides up. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the first point I want to share with the board is to remind you that we are a member of a very important organization, national organization, and that is NACA, the National Association of Clean Air Agencies. We have been a long-standing member of the association, and as you can see, it has strong representation across the country. There's more than 100 agencies like us, regional and local air agencies, and there's a good number of states. So state level air agencies are also a part of NACA. The reason I want to make you aware of this is because NACA is relevant to us because it really provides us the principal conduit to what is happening in DC with the federal government, the federal agencies, primarily federal EPA, but really also, and perhaps most importantly, what happens in Congress as it relates to clean air and these days, climate change, obviously. So this is a really important organization that we support, we are a member of. And we're also fortunate because we as an agency hold a leadership position in the association. I myself, I am co-chair of its climate change committee, along with a colleague from the state of Washington. So one of the principal activities that we have been involved in as a part of NACA recently, as you can imagine, is with the new Biden administration and the transition of the federal government, there's been a lot of conversation and activity around a number of important topics. And I listed just a few that came to mind where we've been involved, interacting with the federal government, actually submitting formal comments on various policies and decisions that the federal government and the agencies are already making. Obviously, we had a lot to say in the transition. A lot of what we said in the transition for the new administration was, you know, we have to mend some of the things that were done by the previous administration. Obviously, we weigh in on appropriations at the federal level, the funding that is coming specifically for California and specifically for air quality and clean air and low carbon projects. A big issue, as you would imagine, is the California waiver and the California authority to set its own clean car and clean truck standards. There's a lot of activity at the federal level on air toxics because of the concerns about environmental justice, not only in California, but across the nation. And as you can imagine, as you're going to hear today, we have some really interesting and important topics for you to learn about related to our own efforts related to environmental justice. We are weighing in anticipation of the next climate meeting happening later this year on some of the actions that the U.S. is already taking to handle some of these greenhouse gases. Specifically the HFCs that are essentially refrigerants. The federal government has already proposed a phase down, which again, the association commented on. So again, I just want to put this in front of you. I don't recall me talking to the board about this association. So from time to time, I'm going to bring you these nuggets of information. Next time we meet, I'll talk about a similar association at the state level, where we're also a part of CAPCOA, the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association. Next slide, please. The real substance is here. One thing that I want to make the board aware of, and please, I'm seeking your feedback and input and comments and suggestions, is, as you can imagine, we're already anticipating a return to office. So myself and my team been working on a plan to bring us back in a limited way back into the office. Obviously, we're tracking all the health directives from the federal government and from the county. We are in constant conversation with Dr. Kasiri, our health officer. As you can imagine, we're going to maintain mostly a virtual work environment going forward. But we are going to begin to slowly trickle back into the office. I'm in the office today. I think you recognize that I've been here for the board meeting. So there is some activity in the office, but technically and officially, we open back up to the public June 15th. And really what this means is simply that, is our doors are open, normal office hours, our clients, our businesses, people that need to come and talk to us, they can walk in as long as they have face coverings. We are requiring that anybody that is coming in, they're more than welcome to, but they have to be, they have to wear face coverings. One important change, and this is really the reason I wanted to have this conversation with the board today, is I like to implement a new office hour schedule where on one day a week, most likely Fridays, we are going to be open for business, but close to the public. I'm taking a page from the playbook from other air agencies that are doing this. And the reason we want to do this is simply so that I can also let our admin office, front office staff have at least one day where they can telework. Right now, we're rotating staff in the front office so that obviously we have to have a couple people in the front office since we're open to the public. So I want to make sure that our administrative professionals also have the opportunity to telework. And I think if we close one day a week, again, we're still open for business. We're just not going to have anybody in the front office. We started trickling back voluntarily July 15th, and that means anybody that is wanting to come in. In the past, we had to give approval. The supervisor had to get involved. We had to be aware that people were coming into the office. With California reopening, we're basically saying, if you want to come in, you can come in. September 15, we're going to try and require that all of us be in the office one day a week. And we're going to hold it there until the remaining of the year. And the idea here is so that we can begin to see what life is going to be like in this hybrid approach. An important element is I'm also giving time. SACOG conducted an employee telework survey in the region, and there was a handful of businesses, private and public, that participated in that program. We were one of them. So we want to give SACOG time to digest the information so that we can get some recommendations that are based on the evidence, on the survey that we as an employer and about a dozen other employers in the region participated in. So to do that, I'm suggesting that starting in September 15, that we begin to bring staff in the office one day a week. I think that is a nice balance, right? I mean, everybody understands that virtually and virtual working and virtual meetings are very effective, but we also appreciate the value of being in person again. And what we want to do is be like this for the remaining of the year. And come the next year, we'll do a reassessment and see where things are. We benefit because we are talking to other agencies, not only in the region, but other air districts across the state. So there's a lot of interaction and conversation about just what life is going to be like post-COVID in this hybrid approach that everybody is talking about. One thing that we are going to do is, again, following the directives from the health departments, anybody that wants to come in, our HR department is going to be checking and confirming for vaccination status. I have my vaccine, so I can be in the office without my mask. But every employee has to go through that process of checking with HR, and HR is going to be enforcing the face covering policy. And then the last thing is also unique, and we are learning from other air districts who are supporting their staff. As we move to require telework, we have to provide a very modest subsidy to make sure that folks have the ability to set up a remote work environment so that we can continue to seamlessly do our work. So that is the last point in the APCO report. Like I said, I want to make sure that you board are aware. And at this point, if you have any comments or suggestions, please let us know. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Ayala. First, I think this is a good opportunity to test this and to show a hybrid model for other agencies, and we can learn. I think other local agencies can learn from our experience here. But let me go to the board here. I don't see any hands raised, but I do want to go to the folks on the phone. I still have thank Board Member Natoli or Board Member Frost if you have any comments, since you can't push the hand raise button. Board Member Natoli or Board Member Frost, do you have any comments on for Dr. Ayala?
No, thanks, Eric. Thanks, Dr. Ella. It was, good to hear, the thought process there, but I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Hi, Chair Guetta. It's Sue Frost.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just had I wasn't sure I understood the subsidy that Dr. Ayala was talking about on the teleworkers. Is that for equipment at home or something? I wasn't sure I understood that.
Yes, Dr. Ayala.
Sorry. Director Frost, yes, it's essentially a modest subsidy. We are landing along the lines of maybe $25, $30 a month per employee to support equipment needs. It's not prescribed. So it's basically, like you said, it could be computer equipment. It could be, better internet service. It could be a better chair, that sort of thing. So that's really the intent of it. The fact that as an employer, because we're going to require teleworking, we're obligated to support that remote office.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying.
Great, thank you, Dr. Ayala. And until now, many folks can still access all the services online. They don't have to come in through the front door, but coming in Monday through Thursday gives an option for people to be able to do that in-person submission for the public. Is that correct, Dr. Ayala?
It is correct, and obviously we're going to maintain a very strong presence online. So all of our services are going to continue to be available. But anecdotally, and the clerks can give you the details, as you can imagine, we do have people that have come in and say, I want to be there in person. They call in and say, I don't want to go to your website. I don't want to call anybody. I want to come in and talk to somebody. So we're trying to achieve a balance where we can serve in the best possible way that works for our client.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Ayala. I think having the one day off to be able to give an opportunity for the administrative staff is a good thing. And let's see how this. I'd like to get a report back in a couple months and see how this is working out. I'm making sure also knowing how our employees are feeling about this. Maybe doing a survey with the employees and finding out how they're responding to it and how we can improve it. That'd be helpful. If there are no other questions. Oh, yes, go ahead, Board Member Frost.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had one more question regarding the human resources part of this reopening the office, and regarding the verification of the vaccine. And so we know we went through this at the county. You can ask their vaccine status, but you cannot require them to give it by law. So are you saying that if they want to come back to the office, they have to give it, but you're not requiring it? You can't require it, is my understanding.
That is correct. Somebody can choose not to give it. And in that case, the implication is going to be that they're just going to have to wear face coverings in the office. But I have our Administrative Services Director, Jamil Moon, here. Jamil, do you want to address the question from Director Frost?
Sure. Thank you, Director Frost. Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, that's actually accurate. That's exactly how we're handling it. We have let everybody know that if they want to provide documentation of their vaccination status, they can simply take a picture of their card or take a something from their doctor's website with the information and send it to HR. We maintain it in a confidential file there. And from that perspective, we have a practice where the on-site manager for the day would be aware of those individuals who have not submitted it. So from that extent, to reassure other employees that we are following up and ensuring that people who are unvaccinated are wearing masks, because we do have that concern. That's a large concern amongst folks coming back to the office. So we've set a practice in place to make it very easy for people to submit if they so choose. And if they do, we have that on record, and then they're free to be in the office without face coverings. If they have chosen not to submit that, then that's fine. We have no problem with that. And we will just ensure and monitor that they are wearing face coverings. So that's the practice we have put in place.
And they can also have the option of working from home.
Yes, for now, that's true. At this time, we have 100% telework as an option, except for essential workers. As Alberto was mentioning, we have front office staff, some IT staff. We always have an on-site manager that is scheduled right now. Come September 15th, when 1 day a week is required for staff to be in office, at that point in time, if they have not disclosed, if they have not provided that documentation, because that's not to say that they aren't vaccinated, we can't make that assumption, but if they have chosen not to submit that documentation, then when they come in that 1 day a week, they will be required to wear face coverings.
And I'd like to just clarify, Board Member Frost, it's not at all clear that we could not require the vaccine. We're not doing it at this point. You said a couple times that we're not able to do that. That's not clear at this point. It's a real gray area and evolving area.
It's very clear. I don't think you cannot require the vaccine, and that concept is not on the table. But that's not the conversation here. I think what I'm concerned about is our employees' privacy and their ability to be treated equally in the workplace.
Yes, and thank you for that concern, and I believe our protocol is achieving that.
Well, thank you, Board Member Frost. Thank you, staff, for this. And again, what I'd like to get is a report back in a couple months and see how this is moving forward, and also the response from our employees in a couple months. Board Member Vandenberg, yes, I see you raising your physical hand.
Yeah, I don't see a hand raised on my screen, so I just raised my physical hand. I'm curious, what's the official logic behind requiring a mask if all the other employees are vaccinated and safe from the virus? And have they considered any stigmatism of people requiring the mask and then people know that they're not vaccinated, and how that separates the employees into two groups, basically?
Yes, we have. Thank you for the question, Director Vandenberg. We have taken that into serious consideration and had all those discussions. Cal OSHA is the guiding legal guidance that, I guess I'm saying guidance twice, but anyways, it's the guiding law that we're following. And Cal OSHA now says that it is required in the workplace for unvaccinated individuals to wear face coverings. So we do not see it as discretionary at this point. And we also encourage and communicate to employees that just because you're wearing a face covering doesn't mean that you're unvaccinated. There's a lot of individuals who are vaccinated who I'm sure will also choose to wear face coverings when they come to the office. And we're also communicating that just because they are wearing a face covering doesn't mean that they aren't vaccinated. They may just have chosen from their privacy perspective to not provide that documentation to us. So we're trying to level that playing field and ensure people that, you know, there is no judgment. You can't make a judgment whether somebody's wearing a mask or not, because you really don't know the status of that individual. And we encourage people to wear face coverings. Is that what they choose? And to ensure that there is no disparity. We will not be treating anybody differently. And we've reiterated to employees that they are not to ask other employees about their vaccination status. If I individually choose to disclose and share with like Alberto chose to share that he's vaccinated, that's his prerogative. But we have made it very clear that employees are not to ask other employees about their status, about any health status, of course, and a COVID vaccine falls right into that category. So hopefully that will help mitigate the concern you've expressed.
Thank you, Jamil. And I think that was the, following the directive of OSHA, and as an employer, I think is the important focus here. Well, thank you again.
Excuse me, Chair Garrett. This is Sue Frost. I'm sorry, I could not get on the Zoom, and so I can't raise my hand, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Board Member Frost.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Jamil, I wonder if you can follow up for this board. I have a question regarding the we know with the experimental vaccine that the vaccine companies and the medical community are not liable by law because there were laws passed that make them immune as far as any kind of unknown outcome of a vaccine that we.
Mr. Chair, can we move on? This has nothing to do with the air district.
I have a right to ask my question. So
Board Member Terry, let me, Board Member Frost, if you could keep the
why don't you direct your question to your county health official?
Yeah, Board Member Terry, hold on one quick moment here. I understand your concern. And Board Member Frost, if you could hold on one moment. Hold on one moment.
Thank you.
Board Member Terry, thank you for your point here. Board Member Frost, if you can just make sure that your question is pertinent to the plan to return to work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. The question that I have is, what is the liability for us as an employer regarding the experimental vaccine? In other words, if we require people to have a vaccine to come back to work, is there liability for the employer when there isn't for the vaccine company or the medical community?
Okay, thank you, Board Member Frost.
Jamil, I don't need an answer right now. I'm asking Jamil if she can just
yes,
do the research and send a letter to the board, to all of us, so that we know what our liability is.
Yes, I'm gonna ask council to report back to the board on that. So thank you again for that, those questions. I, for one, anytime I'm indoors, I'm going to be wearing a mask. I think the information that's come out from both the county health office and our health partners have shown that the Delta variant, we've seen what's happened a few blocks over virtually over at the state capitol. Even those who have been wearing masks or who have had the vaccine have been exposed. So thank you again, Dr. Ayala, for putting this comprehensive plan together. I think that's enough feedback for you. Great. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and move on to our next item.
Yes, we are on to the consent calendar. Item 1 is May 27th, 2021 Board of Directors meeting minutes. Item 2 is the agreement with the County of Sacramento for administrative services. And item 3 is the quarterly contracts report from April 2021 through June 2021.
Great. Thank you. Is there any comments from the public on these items, Madam Clerk?
No comments.
Okay, great.
Move the calendar, Terry.
Been moved by Board Member Terry. Is there a second from the board?
Second.
Then seconded by Board Member Harris. Let me bring back to the board here. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Director Aquino.
Yes.
Director Daniels. Absent, sorry. Director Desmond. Absent. Director Frost.
Aye.
Director Guerrera.
Aye.
Director Harris.
Aye.
Director Kennedy. Absent. Director Loloe. Absent. Director Natoli.
Aye.
Director Vandenberg.
Aye.
Director Cerna. Absent. Director Singh Allen.
Aye.
Director Terry.
Aye.
Director Bang.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, now on our discussion calendar, we have 3 receive and file items that the staff need to update the board on. And I want to remind the board that we do have closed items in closed session that we need to take action. Okay, first item, Madam Clerk.
Our first item 4 is agricultural burn program, and Angela Thompson is online to give a presentation, and I will just get the presentation going here.
Good morning, Chair Guerra and members of the board. Hopefully you can hear me okay. My name is Angela Thompson and I'm a program manager in the Stationary Sources Division. I'm here today to give you information about the agricultural burn program that we began administering this July. Next slide. Historically, the district contracted with the Sacramento County Agricultural's Office to run our agricultural burn program and determine our countywide burn day status. This work included determining the daily burn day status, which is used primarily for agricultural burning, but also for open burning. It included issuing agricultural burn permits to growers and daily approval and tracking of agricultural burns. In addition, the work included inspections and complaint response. We appreciate the help that we had from the Sacramento County Agricultural Commissioner's Office, but they did notify us this spring that they would not renew the contract. So unfortunately, there were no other feasible options but to begin administering the program ourselves this July. Next slide, please. So what is agricultural burning? Agricultural burning is for disposing of waste from commercial agricultural businesses. This is an essential activity for the growers in our county. However, agricultural burning is a source of air pollution that can impact our residents and our county and our regional air quality. Because it has the potential to be so impactful, agricultural burning is highly regulated and it requires coordination. The state first authorizes burning in the air basin, and then the local district regulates it by a permit program. This requires coordination in the region between the air districts and CARB. And this is vital work for our regulated community, and we are mandated to do this program. Next slide, please. Let me go over the main elements. Could you go back one slide, Virginia? To slide 3. Okay, there we go. Let me go over the main elements of the agricultural burning program with you. Growers are issued agricultural burn permits for a year, and burning can only occur on good air quality days. This requires us to make daily burn day status determinations based on the forecasted air quality. Permit holders can only burn once they receive permission on the day of the burn. And for some burns, we will have to inspect prior to approving. From burns, there can be public complaints that we have to respond to. Approving burns requires coordination in our region. Fire dispatch needs to be aware of all burns, and large burns or border burns need to be communicated to our neighboring air districts or other districts in our air basin. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as you can gather, implementing this program has had a large impact on our team. The work is difficult and it involves meteorological assessments, coordination and hazard monitoring like red flag warnings, and being aware of other burns in the region, such as prescribed burns. This program also requires daily and weekend work for the entire year. This has been a major impact for our staff as we historically have not worked weekends on a regular basis. Because of these scheduling needs, we've had to shift our staff to this program to help develop it and provide adequate scheduling coverage. And unfortunately, this is another example that I'm bringing before you of an underfunded program that we are required to do by law. This particular program only generates approximately $12,000 a year in permit revenue, despite the large number of staff required to maintain it. So we want the board to be aware of this new program operated directly by the district and understand that this is work that we now must regularly perform. Next slide, please. With that being said, we are of course committed to running the program the best we can with our limited resources. To help increase communication, we began sending out daily burn day status emails to our partners, and we've worked to develop a communication plan for getting the word out when we approve large burns. As members of our board, we want to provide you with any information that is helpful to you in your roles. If anyone from your office would like to be added to either our daily burn day status distribution list or large notification burns, please notify the clerk of the board. Next slide, please. I'll end with some useful resources that include our website, the email contact for any burning issues, and our new burning line. Next slide. So with that, I want to thank our team for launching this program in such a short time frame, and I thank you all for your time. If you have any questions about the program, I'm happy to answer them.
Great, thank you very much for that. We've got a couple board members. I got Board Member Vandenberg here, and then I'll also go to our folks on the phone here. Board Member Vandenberg.
Okay. Thank you. I was just curious. I work as an industrial electrician, and I know this doesn't apply everywhere, such as rice crops. You know, they're burning stubble, so it's difficult with grape crops. There's a lot of metal and metal stakes in the wasted product after they pull the vines from the fields. But when it comes to orchards, it's raw wood. Is there any program to transport those materials to biomass burners to generate electricity instead of just burning into the open air? You may not be a biggest fan of biomasses, but they burn, you know, wood, rice hulls, those sorts of materials. But more importantly, all the exhaust is controlled and monitored by the government with existing systems. So you would take a waste product and make it an energy product while controlling environmental output.
Thank you for the question. That's a really good question. I'll give you my best attempt at an answer, and then if anyone else would like to weigh in, maybe Dr. Ayala would. We do not run a program where we have or implement transfer. Obviously, there's private companies, and there are some biomass plants. I think that the numbers are lessening, but I won't speak to that much more because I'm certainly not an expert on that. But there are private companies where you can that specialize in hauling away wood waste for farmers or any type of property owners. So that is an option. Dr. Ayala, would you like to add to that?
Sure. Thank you, Angela. And what I'll say is we would not implement a specific air district program along the lines of what you are suggesting, Director Vandenberg. We would mostly implement such a program if it is coming down from the state. But I can tell you that obviously residue, organic residue is a big issue. It's a big topic at the state. They are working on different approaches and we're tracking them. But again, right now, there isn't anything specifically. And the one point I'll say about biomass energy, that is also a topic of conversation amongst the air agencies. And while we're not opposed to it, I think it's really an issue of the competitive market. You know, our smart friends and others that work in the electricity utility business tell us that the big thing about biomass energy is that it's just more costly than renewable energy these days. So, you know, these are complex topics. And as Angela said, you know, we're sort of getting outside of our lane here. But if you want more information specifically on your question, we can research it and bring it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ayala. If we could get that information to Board Member Vandenberg, that would be, and also I believe in past Cap to Caps, biomass has been a topic of conversation. So if we could also get that information to Board Member Vandenberg about the national efforts and discussions on it. Other questions from the board on this item? Members on the phone.
Mr. Chair? Yeah.
Yes.
Director Natoli?
Go ahead, Board Member Natoli.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Angela, for the presentation. And I was aware of the transition. I know I talked to the Agricultural Commissioner, Chris Flores, had talked to me about the, you know, the handoff. And certainly I know that there was a good deal of work just from my exchange with her in transitioning the program. And as you aptly covered in your report, obviously it's a, you know, a workload that, you know, is every day, you know, certainly dependent upon, you know, the activity, but nonetheless making the calculation. So it's a year-round program. I wanted to say one thing. I think it's, you know, it was embodied in your report, but obviously the program is very important to farmers, growers, and ranchers in the county, and certainly agriculture has a strong presence in our economy and in employment, and certainly in providing food and fiber for for all of us, and and exports that go throughout the country and in the world in some cases. So I guess I'm what I wanted to ask though was that the point wasn't lost about how the costs are far exceed what is in the permit revenue. And I know there was a very modest adjustment, I think, in the permit this year, but what are your thoughts about that? Because again, I think that's one of the things that the relationship between the agriculture commissioners, I trust, between the air quality district was a good one, but it means people being out early, sometimes being during the spring and early fall hours, being out 4 a.m., 5 a.m. sometimes for the inspections, and obviously being able to field calls. So what's the thoughts? And maybe that's for Alberto as well. But again, I didn't see anything that people were looking at raising fees or anything of that notion, and that was good. But again, I want to ask a question because I know that if there's any consideration of that gets to be pretty touchy with a small segment of folks, but yet ones who are very dependent upon this program to be a part of their their ongoing farming practices.
Thank you, Director Natoli. That's a very good and thoughtful question, and I'll give my attempt at a response, and if anyone else would like to weigh in. We didn't raise the fees technically this year. We caught a pass-through fee that goes through to the BCC. So we were. It
was just a few bucks. I know. I saw
it was $5.
Yeah, $5. Yeah.
So we recouped that because it didn't require a change in our fee rule. The problem, I don't know if that's the right word, but the issue is that there are not that many permit holders, and so to raise the fees to ever get anywhere near cost recovery is infeasible because it would be thousands of dollars for an agricultural burn permit. So right. With only 100 to 200 permit holders, so it seems like there needs to be another funding stream identified to make this ever not such a negative draw on the district's resources.
Okay. Well, and I appreciate the response, Angela. And I just want to say that if it means legislatively, I think certainly working with partners, those that have interest, obviously your farm bureaus and other associations of growers, vineyards and orchards organizations. I think that we can't be the only county, and I know from my work with the Basin Control Council and our staff that up and down certainly the North Valley, in Sacramento Valley, but certainly throughout San Joaquin, I got to imagine that this is something that the air districts have to bear the cost in many cases. It sounds like that's typically who does the inspections and all the calculations and follow-up. So if there's if there's legislatively something we're going to be proactive on, I certainly would volunteer to assist any way I could, because I think it's critical to agriculture and sustainable practices, but ones where the practicalities in some cases to not be able to burn would be a very big burden. But I think, as you said, trying to spread the cost of the permits to the small number of growers who hold permits, that's not too practical either. So again, I just want to indicate that I'm prepared to help the district and work along the lines to try to seek additional funding to support the program.
Great. Thank you, Board Member Natoli. And I think this adds to our previous conversations about looking at our overall funding streams and figuring out how we look at other sources, whether it's future ballot measures, per capita fees, making sure we're right-sizing the permits. Of course, in this one, like you said, it'd be very significant for our agricultural partners if they bear all the cost. So I think those are to be continued. Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just have one other comment. Yeah, just one other comment. And I understand certainly some of the impacts on our staff, because particularly if you have to do field inspections, distances from, if you were to drive just from the downtown offices to some of the distant areas, particularly in the southern part of the county. I mean, you're talking about an hour and a half travel time, back and forth, and then early morning hours and so forth. And people need to be compensated certainly for their travel, but also their work. And so, I get the impacts. And again, I thank our staff, certainly Angela and Alberto, but all those who are, I guess, doing a rotating assignment, and I guess whoever draws the short straw on Saturday and Sundays to have to be up early and to do all this. But again, thanks to our staff. That's all I had.
Great. Thank you, Board Member Natoli. I appreciate those comments, and I concur. Good. I'm seeing no other questions from the board. Let's go ahead, and this is a receive and file. Appreciate those comments. Madam Clerk, if you can go to the next item here.
Item 5 is new environmental justice centered policy for supplemental environmental projects. And Amy Roberts is on the line to give a presentation. And it'll take me just a moment to get that presentation up.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Chair Guerra and members of the board. My name is Amy Roberts, and I'm a division manager here at the Stationary Source Division, overseeing permitting and enforcement activities at the district. Today, I'll be speaking to you about supplemental environmental projects, what they are, and a new way the district is implementing them. But before I get into these specifics, I want to highlight the important foundation that led to the changes in our policy. So many of you will remember in 2017, Assembly Bill 617 was passed that pushed air districts statewide to focus on local communities and the increased air pollution burdens that impact them. Since then, the district has engaged in those efforts, specifically with the air monitoring project within our AB 617 designated community. That's in our South Sacramento, Florida community. We've also distributed money through incentive programs specifically targeted there and in other underserved communities. Through these experiences and our work with community members and activists, we have learned a lot. We fully understand that social and health inequities continue to persist for many of our residents. And as the local air quality agency, we serve a key public health role, and our programs can be instrumental pieces to help improve health outcomes in our region. We've also learned that it will take collective effort from many government, public, and private entities, all embracing that shared vision of improving air quality of life for our communities that benefit from them most. I'm sorry, Virginia, if you could go to the next slide, please. And the district is fully committed to develop and implement programs that meet this goal. And we are continuing to look beyond the mandates of AB 617 at our other programs as well. And today I'm pleased to talk to you about a new funding opportunity for what's known as supplemental environmental projects that was redesigned with this intended purpose in mind. Next slide, please. So what are supplemental environmental projects, or SEPs as I'll refer to them? SEPs are projects that come about during the enforcement of air quality regulations. As most of you know, there's almost always, when we issue an air quality violation, that results in a penalty. During the settlement process of that, the violator may choose to offset up to 50% of that penalty by funding a SEP. Historically, the Air District has had very few of these types of projects that it has implemented, and this year the district has 2 violators that in short order have both been interested in using a SEP. This afforded us an opportunity to pilot a new process where community interests could be prioritized. Next slide, please, Virginia. So what is different with our SEP program now? Well, there are 2 very important changes we decided to make in 1, how we solicit for projects, and in 2, where selected projects must occur. Our policy that we've developed is now clearly focused on getting projects from community groups and other nonprofit organizations, and very importantly, these projects must occur in district priority communities. By doing the program this way, we are taking a dedicated approach to help address inequity in our communities. Also, as I mentioned, SEPs are typically implemented infrequently by most local air districts in the state because they can be resource intensive to manage. The Air Resources Board has a SEP program where they actively solicit for projects. So we've used this program as a model, and we saw an opportunity here locally for us to do something innovative at the local level. Amongst local air agencies, our program is progressive and definitely moves the needle in the right direction toward equity and inclusion. Next slide, please. So let me briefly review the details of this funding opportunity for you. We currently have an open solicitation for project proposals with available funding totaling approximately $140,000. Groups that can apply include nonprofits, community and tribal organizations, public agencies, and educational institutions. For projects to be approved to be part of the SEP list, projects must meet certain project categories that include air quality, climate change, and public health. Projects must also be in district priority communities or in our AB 617 designated community. Priority communities are those that have a sensitivity of medium to high on the SMUD Sustainable Communities Resource Map. There is still time to submit projects, and the July 30th deadline will be extended as necessary to make sure there's adequate time to collect projects. And I'm inviting all of you to participate and get the word out to your constituents and organizations that may be interested. You may have seen a couple of emails from us. We sent you one about a month ago and this past week. This also included an outreach toolkit that you can use to make it easier. Anything that you can do to spread the word we know is very helpful. We're very grateful to see, Chair Guerra, that you had sent some social media on this item. So thank you very much for that. And thanks to everybody else for any efforts you can do on our behalf. Next slide, please. Lastly, our SET program and the changes we've made to it are really important because it is an example of how the district is moving forward and focusing our efforts on and infusing environmental justice ideals into our programs to make sure that there is fair and equitable access to government programs and funds and that inequities are addressed. Our district vision is clean air and a low carbon future for all, and steps like these are part of how we make that vision a reality for Sacramento. Lastly, I'd also like to take a moment to thank the dedicated staff that helped to put this program together in such a quick and thorough manner. So thank you, a big thank you to them. With that, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, and thank you for your time.
Oh, great, thank you very much. And yeah, if you could send that toolkit to the board, I think it's not easy to cut and paste and put on your social media. This is $140,000 that's available for nonprofit and community organizations and board members, districts throughout the county for this effort here. Any questions from the board? I don't see any hands raised, but let me go over to the members on the phone. Seeing no questions here. Thank you again. I think the important thing is let's get the word out and put this money into good use. Madam Clerk, do we have any members from the public who wish to speak on this item?
No.
Great. We'll go ahead and move on to our last item here. Another great opportunity to get resources out to the community. Madam Clerk.
Item 6 is electric lawnmower pilot program, and Rafe Porter is on the line to give the presentation. And let me get it up.
Good morning, Chair Gann and members of the board. Rafe Porter, I'm Program Manager in the Transportation and Climate Change Division here at the Sacramento Air District. This is an information-only item, and it's to discuss the upcoming electric lawnmower program we'll be piloting with SMUD. I am joined this morning by Ravi Patel from SMUD, who is here to answer any questions. So before I dive into the presentation, I'd like to let Ravi introduce himself. Ravi, if you're able to unmute.
Hi everyone, Ravi Patel. I'm with SMUD. I'm the manager for our customer experience delivery team. We implement a lot of programs and services under my director, Eric Krause, and we're looking forward to working with the Air Quality District on this effort.
Great, thanks, Ravi. If we can advance to the next slide, please. So there is a rich history to this program and the partnership between the Air District and SMUD. It really began in 1996 with the Mow Down program. In the past, these were usually large events where participants would bring in an old lawnmower and receive credit towards a new lawnmower that was purchased during the event. In the past, we also worked with other air districts such as Yolo Solano and Placer County, as well as our city and county of Sacramento. These events were a really big hit, and they were always extremely successful. We moved lots of lawnmowers through these programs. Next slide, please. That popularity hasn't really waned, and due to that, we wanted to bring this program back beginning in late August or early September and run it through October or November of this year. This time it will be an incentive pilot program for residents to bring in old lawnmowers and use the Air District's Carl Moyer funds. Participants will receive $145 towards the purchase of a new battery electric lawnmower. In addition, SMUD is being gracious and contributing some additional incentives to their income qualified energy assistance program rate customers. So thanks to SMUD for doing that. We do have limited funds for this program, so we're considering this program a pilot. It's going to be limited to 500 mowers, and we're really just using it to test out a few ideas on how we can best administer the program, which will be administered this time with our partner SMUD. If you can advance just one, not the whole slide, but there should be one other little graphic on here. And I just wanted to point out that due to the guidelines through the Car and Mower program, we're limited to doing residential lawnmowers only. There's no equipment such as leaf blowers, trimmers, and other things allowed through this program. Next slide, please. The main difference in the program this year, based on what we've done in the past, is we're not doing it a large event. Instead, SMUD has contracted with a single retailer and a single on-site recycler for this program. Participants will bring in an older gas-powered lawnmower to that retailer and receive $145 towards the purchase of a new battery electric mower. The retailer will then recycle that old equipment on site and work with that on-site recycler, so there won't be a lot of back and forth. And then SMUD and the Air District will work the magic behind the scenes to administer and conduct the program. SMUD will be doing a lot of the outreach to their customers to let them know about the program and how to take advantage of the incentives. And as I mentioned, they're going to be offering that additional incentive to their, I think it's their ERP program. So next slide, please. Aside from just being an extremely popular program, there actually are some community benefits to this. The Air District has worked closely with the cities of Sacramento and West Sacramento and many of our partners on the Mayor's Climate Commission, where lawn and garden equipment was one of the measures that came out that the commission recommended from that work. This program also helps SMUD reach its zero carbon plan goals, so we're happy to help out there. And it also comes ahead of ARB's small off-road engine or SOAR regulations, where we could look for additional flexibility in the lawn and garden program. And lastly, this is part of a larger lawn and garden program that ARB conducts that includes the community air protection funds that can be used on commercial equipment for those that contract with K-8 schools. And just in case there were any doubts about the use of this equipment and if it would actually work, the Southgate Parks and Recreation Department in Elk Grove recently conducted a demonstration of zero emission lawn and garden equipment from a lot of different manufacturers throughout the country. They did this work with the American Green Zone Alliance and ARB. We did have some staff that attended this demonstration and they were happy to report, and this is a quote, this isn't my joke, that the event was very clean and quiet. So that's the end of the presentation, and Ravi and I can take any questions you might have at this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I will say that I've got an electric lawnmower, and my neighbors were surprised at how quiet it is. So first, let me see. Are there any members from the public wishing to speak, Madam Clerk?
No.
Great, thank you. This is a receive and file, and I see I have Board Member Harris here, who has led the effort on leaf blowers. Board Member Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Guerra. First, Rafe and Robbie, thank you for this program. I think you know, because it's been so successful over the years, that there's definitely consumer appetite for this. You know, I appreciate getting mowers electrified. Most of them are 4-stroke engines rather than 2-stroke. So there are definitely air quality benefits and certainly sound benefits for our constituents. You can sign me up immediately because I need to get an electric mower. So I hope to be one of those 500, but the fact of the matter is 2-stroke engines are much more noxious and create a lot more health risks and are more detrimental to our air quality. I feel strongly that this board should push to allocate more resources towards this kind of program for leaf blowers. You know, if we could get this fleet of 2-stroke leaf blowers, all electric, in our city and county, we would be way ahead of the game. So I hope that my colleagues share that concern. I'd also like to thank the Mow Better group. They've been pushing for this for a long time, as well as the leaf blower issue. There are a bunch of very concerned constituents who are, you know, using their power of speech to affect change, and I really appreciate their efforts. So thank you all.
Great, thank you very much. Board members on the phone.
Chair Gary, I would just share, this is Board Member Terry. My lawnmower, leaf blower, hedge trimmers, they're all electric and have been, they recorded forever and now they're all battery powered. So the technology's there and it's very user friendly, so long as, unless you're running a landscape business where you're cutting, 20 lawns a day, for the average homeowner, these products are very user friendly.
Thank you, Board Member Terry. I would concur. When I switched over to a battery-powered hedger, it was much lighter, much easier to be on a ladder. Again, just for a home use, great opportunity. The only recommendation, this is a pilot program, and since I see no other board members to speak.
Excuse me, Chair Carrera, we do have a public comment by Elise.
Oh, good. Let's go to public comment, then we'll close the section.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know I was going to get to speak, but I just sent in a comment by email and wanted to reiterate what Councilmember Harris just said, that this is such a great idea, and I am so pleased to see this incentive program being piloted, and just want to echo a recommendation and request that we augment these efforts to include leaf blowers, which really have also, particulate pollution in addition to ozone forming pollution, and do what we can to do some robust outreach to commercial landscaping companies on this issue. I live in Rosemont, I've lived in downtown Sacramento, and I've lived in Carmichael, and you can hear those blowers everywhere, but really we need to think about those workers and how we keep them employed, how we keep them doing what they do best, which is making our communities really beautiful and well maintained, but they can do that with electric equipment. So I'd love to see efforts and funding for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for those public comments. The only comment, again, I agree that, I think this is a great program, very popular. But if anything serves me well as growing up, particularly low-income family, we'd go to garage sales looking for old lawn mowers or looking for, leaf blowers or hedgers. And so what I'd like to make sure is that, that this doesn't just become, a program for those who might have already started to go in that direction and they basically get a discount. I'd like us to make sure that we're doing an extensive outreach into lower income communities who could benefit from exchanging their old lawnmower that they picked up at a garage sale and being able to take advantage of this. And however SMUD and their district want to achieve that, I think that's an important piece. I also feel like there are two programs that could come out of this. One, there's a commercial side, and then one for the residential side. Many of our landscape businesses are family-owned, small businesses, and I think there's a way for us to help those, family-owned, small landscape businesses transition. We should look at that commercial side business as a way to, like we do with many other programs, to look at that from an economic development standpoint and see how do we help those businesses transition into something cleaner and also beneficial, along with making sure that we're following our AB 816. Oh my God, 816. I forgot the number now. Community outreach efforts on the residential side. So with that, I think it's great. I like the Mo Better group, and so thank you everyone for your comments. If there are no other comments, I'm going to go back to the board here. If there are no other comments, Rafe, thank you. This is a great program, and looking forward to working on some outreach on this program.
You're welcome. I do see a hand up from Dr. Ayala, if you wanted to comment.
Oh, Dr. Ayala, sorry.
Thank you, Rafe. I just wanted to mention to the board, because you guys touched on the commercial sector a couple of times, and I want to share good news. Our friends at the Shasta County Air Quality Management District are doing a similar pilot as we are, except it's for commercial application. So they are going to be exploring technology where, if you're in the landscaping business, they tell me that there is technology where you can wear essentially a backpack with extra batteries, so you have the long, the range and the long hours that are required for multiple equipment. So Obviously, ourselves and every other district are supporting our Shasta County AQMD friends, and we're going to be tracking it very closely. And you know, that's really what is great about the collaboration that is going on right now on zero emission technology and battery technology, that everybody's interested in these solutions. And to the extent that they can figure out how to implement a commercial program, you can rest assured we're going to be looking at that very closely and bringing it back to this board.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Ayala. Seeing no other questions, Madam Clerk, I think that's the end of our discussion item. Do we have any members on public comment, item not on the agenda?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Board member ideas, comments, and ED 1, 2, 3, 4 reports. Seeing none, thank you very much, everyone. That concludes the balance of our agenda, but we still have closed session. So, Madam Clerk, I believe we're going to go into closed session here. Are we gonna? We're gonna be using the room,
breakout rooms.
The breakout rooms. So, board members, you're going to see the blue button there, and if we could track the folks on the phone to help them so that we don't lose them. But once you get the breakout room, Madam Clerk, if we could go into closed session here at 10:10, and we'll transition everyone into closed session.
Director Aquino, is that you with the phone number ending in 5380?
8 a.m. from closed session. Council, Kathy, do we have one item to report out?
Yes, on the closed session item litigation, the board authorized settlement terms.
Great, thank you. And with that matter, we will we'll stand adjourned at 10:28 a.m.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. You guys have a good one. Virginia, thanks. Great first meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.